Xyler's 6 eyes twitched with apprehension as he scurried through the underbrush of the forest planet Eruvian 9. Though his body was covered in chitinous plates that could resist energy blasts, he didn't feel even remotely protected. The reports had been chilling. 2 scout drones had disappeared from the sector, their last transmissions garbled with electronic screeching. Whatever had taken them out was fast, aggressive, and evidently had a penchant for sabotage. Behind him, clumsy footfalls betrayed the presence of Boral, his fellow scout, and an unfortunate chatterbox. Boral's bulk meant he often trampled more foliage than necessary, breaking the serene buzz of Eruvian 9's lifeforms. Xyler, do you think it has claws? I heard some of the lesser terrors in this quadrant have claws so sharp they can cleave through whole metal. Boral's 4 eyes shone with excitement. He seemed to miss the point that their mission wasn't to catalog monsters but to avoid becoming prey. Focus, Boral. Xyler hissed. This monster, whatever it is, obliterated 2 drones. We need stealth. They continued moving through the dense undergrowth, their long legs skimming the forest floor. The air was thick with the scent of chlorophyll and the occasional waft of something pungent, likely a swamp blossom. The aliens had just ducked beneath a wide-leaved fern when a low, throaty growl reverberated nearby, freezing both in place. Xyler silently cursed. The sound was unlike anything in his databanks, a growl so primal it sent shivers down his primary and secondary spines. The underbrush rustled, and out stepped a beast unlike any they had imagined. 4-legged, its coat a mixture of dark and light patches, and eyes gleaming with predatory intent. Saliva dripped from its maw, revealing canines that seemed honed for rending. It paused, then emitted another sound, a deep bark that reverberated through the forest. Monstrous, Boral whispered, his trembling limbs betraying his fear. It's calling for backup. But the beast did not pounce. Instead, it tilted its head and took a few cautious steps closer. Xyler slowly raised his multi-scanner. The device, which could analyze energy signatures, life signs, and intent, began whirring. Numbers flashed across the screen, in an indecipherable mess apparently. The creature defied simple categorization. Xyler swallowed. Contacting the mothership, he said, his voice wavering as he triggered his comm link. Xyler reporting from Sector 12. We've located the unidentified life form. Please advise. The comm crackled. Describe the threat, came a weary reply from Command Officer Jelix. It appears canine-like, quadrupedal, displays aggressive tendencies but no immediate attack. Saliva production and vocalizations are concerning. Command fell silent for a beat. Canine? As in like a Terran domesticated animal? Be more precise, Scout Xyler. Domesticated, Xyler repeated incredulously, eyeing the creature now sniffing at Boral's pack. Commander, with all due respect, there's nothing tame about this thing. Suddenly the monster lunged. Xyler yelped and dodged while Boral fell backward in a tangle of limbs. The beast grabbed Boral's pack and instead of tearing it to shreds, shook it vigorously. Boral flailed and emitted a high-pitched wail that Xyler had only heard during extreme emergencies. Help me, Xyler. It's got my pack. I think it's playing with it. Before Xyler could process the absurdity of Boral's statement, a new figure emerged from the shadows. It was bipedal, tall, and wrapped in layered fabric. The figure's eyes locked onto the beast with what could only be described as affection. Hey, Riley. Drop it, the creature commanded in an unmistakably male voice. The beast, which had been enthusiastically tossing Boral's pack, paused mid-shake. It released the bag and bounded to the newcomer, its demeanor transformed from ferocious to joyous in a heartbeat. The human laughed, a deep, resonant sound that sent shivers through Xyler. There was something terrifyingly casual about it. He was in the presence of a creature that had bested their scouts and yet seemed so carefree. Xyler did his best to recover his composure. Identify yourself, intruder, he demanded, though his voice cracked halfway through. The human turned, his gaze curious rather than hostile. Intruder? Oh hey, didn't know this place was claimed, he said. His eyes flicked to Boral, who was still picking himself up. Sorry about Riley. He gets a bit excitable. You okay, buddy? Buddy, Boral gasped. You control the monster. Monster, the human looked genuinely puzzled. He patted the beast's head. Riley's no monster. He's a dog, a good boy, aren't you? Riley, the creature wagged its tail with enough enthusiasm to flatten a small bush. Tyler and Boral exchanged glances, both thinking the same thing. This human controlled a beast with a mere word, one capable of reducing a scout drone to scrap. Yet, it appeared to follow orders like a trained soldier. Dangerous didn't even begin to describe it. "You must come with us for interrogation," Zyler said, attempting to project confidence. "We have questions." The human's smile didn't falter. "Sure. Riley loves new friends." Back aboard the mothership, Zyler and Boral tried to process the fact that they had escorted the monster and its master without incident. The other crew members, though skeptical, gathered around as the human who introduced himself as Marcus answered questions. "So you're telling us you deliberately live with this beast?" Officer Jelix asked, his tone filled with incredulity. "Live with?" Riley's family, Marcus replied, as if explaining the obvious. "Humans and dogs go way back. Partnership of survival and all that." "Partnership? That thing is a walking weapon," Boral blurted out, earning him a reproachful glare from Jelix. Marcus chuckled. "Sure, dogs can be protective, but they're also great for keeping company. Riley likes chasing balls, long naps, and belly rubs. Hardly the stuff of nightmares." The room buzzed with disbelief. The scouts had stumbled upon what they thought was a monster, but the human described it like a companion. To Zyler, it was almost too much. He leaned forward. "How did this Riley defeat our drones? We found nothing but mangled remains." Marcus's eyes lit up with a mix of pride and embarrassment. "Yes, sorry about that. Riley has a strong chase instinct. He probably thought your drones were really loud mechanical birds. Wasn't personal." "So this was a game?" Jelix pressed, his mandibles clicking. "A deadly game?" "Not deadly," Marcus insisted, scratching Riley behind the ears. "He wouldn't hurt anyone intentionally. I'll pay for damages, if that helps." Boral, who had been quietly seething, suddenly spoke up. "The beast tackled me. It was a hair's breadth from eating me alive." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Tackled? Riley probably wanted to wrestle. He loves wrestling." The crew's skepticism only grew. Zyler had read stories about humans, how their adaptability and unpredictable nature made them formidable, but experiencing it was different. Now they faced a man who saw a vicious monster as a friend and laughed at danger. It was baffling. Events took a sharp turn the following day when a security breach occurred in the lower decks. Several critical systems went haywire. Security footage revealed a small intruder darting between shadows, avoiding detection. Zyler, tasked with identifying the culprit, reviewed the footage again. Every movement suggested it was four-legged. But "Oh no," he whispered. They rushed to Marcus's quarters, finding him mid-sleep, sprawled on a makeshift cot. Riley lay curled beside him. Zyler nudged the human awake. "Marcus, your creature is loose in the ship." Marcus rubbed his eyes, blinking away sleep. "Riley? Impossible." "He's right." He turned to see the empty spot beside him. "Oh, guess he went exploring." "Exploring," Jelix hissed. "He has breached restricted zones." Marcus sat up, instantly alert. "We need to find him. He's probably just bored." The notion that this bored creature could single-handedly disrupt their systems made Zyler want to scream. The search commenced, with Marcus leading the way. He whistled, the sound piercing the air. "Riley, come here, boy." An answering bark reverberated through the corridor, followed by the clatter of metal. Zyler, Jelix, and Boral exchanged nervous glances. When they finally found Riley, he was cornered in a maintenance bay, surrounded by overturned equipment. The dog was chewing on what appeared to be a key component of their ship's stabilizer. Marcus stepped forward calmly. "Riley, drop it," he commanded. The dog hesitated, then released the part, tail wagging apologetically. Marcus knelt, patting him on the head. "Good boy." "Good boy," Jelix sputtered. That creature nearly crippled us." Marcus nodded sheepishly. "I'll secure him better next time. Promise." Zyler could hardly believe it. They had nearly been sabotaged by an affectionate pet. To Marcus, the situation was controllable, but to the crew, it was a living nightmare. As repairs began, Marcus explained more about humans and dogs, their loyalty, their shared history, and how dogs had served as allies, guardians, and companions. Some crew members were skeptical, while others were reluctantly fascinated. Riley, meanwhile, became something of an accidental hero when he alerted the crew to a failing reactor system. During one of his playful investigations, his bark saved them precious minutes, preventing a catastrophic failure. Slowly, perceptions began to shift. Riley was no monster, but a force of chaotic good. Marcus, too, proved invaluable, lending insights into human adaptability that had long puzzled the crew. But nothing could erase the memory of their first encounter, the day when alien scouts reported a monster that turned out to be nothing more than a human's loyal dog. Despite Riley's role in preventing a reactor meltdown, trust between the human, his loyal dog, and the alien crew remained fragile. Word of the monster encounter spread throughout the mothership. Every crew member wanted to witness this so-called domesticated terror, but many kept their distance. Xylar, Boral, and Officer Jelix became unofficial guardians, ensuring Riley didn't disrupt operations again. Their task would prove to be anything but simple. Several days later, while Marcus was explaining Earth's ecosystem to a group of curious biologists, Riley's nose twitched. He raised his head, ears perking up. Without warning, he bolted, weaving through confused aliens and leaving Marcus scrambling in pursuit. Riley, heel, Marcus yelled, but the dog was gone, racing toward what could only be another adventure. Xylar groaned as he activated his locator. What now? Muttered Boral, his frills vibrating in frustration. The beast can't sit still. Following the flashing signal, they found themselves in the ship's agricultural sector, a vast chamber designed to mimic the conditions of a thriving alien jungle. Crops, medicinal plants, and rare flora from across the galaxy grew here. But something had intruded on this botanical utopia. Riley was barking furiously at a wriggling mass nestled among the roots of a gliridian vine, a species known for its hallucinogenic properties. What is it? Asked Xylar, stepping closer. The plant's tendrils shuddered, and something hissed back. Marcus squinted, shielding his eyes. Looks like a snake? No, more like a tentacle with teeth. An axillary writher, Boral exclaimed, recognizing the creature from his xenobiology texts. Highly venomous. How did it get on board? The axillary writher lashed out, its segmented body coiling to strike. Riley danced back, barking louder. The monster was protecting them. Marcus took a step forward, but Xylar held him back. Don't interfere, Xylar urged. If it bites, even your dog. But before he could finish, Riley lunged, snapping his jaws around the writher's midsection. There was a crunch. The alien creature squirmed in a desperate attempt to free itself, but Riley's strength was unmatched. With one decisive shake, he rendered the threat inert. He dropped it and stepped back, tail wagging, clearly pleased with himself. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then the agricultural director, a stern Killian named Torak, marched forward. Do you have any idea what that thing could have done to our crops? It would have contaminated everything. Riley just saved the day, right? Marcus said, eyeing the writher's limp form. That earns him some treats. Torak bristled. This creature is unpredictable, dangerous. Or maybe he's just effective, Marcus shot back. You wouldn't have known it was here until it was too late. Torak glowered but had no retort. The rest of the crew murmured among themselves. Riley had once again proved useful, though his methods remained unconventional. The incident reinforced a bitter truth: Riley was a force they could neither control nor ignore. Back in his quarters, Marcus knelt before Riley, scratching behind his ears. You've caused quite a stir, you know that. Riley responded by licking Marcus's face. Whatever tension lingered melted away. But as much as Marcus loved his loyal companion, he couldn't ignore how strained things had become. The crew viewed Riley with a mix of fear and awe, and despite his victories, tensions were simmering. Xylar entered, his posture stiff. Marcus, we need to talk. The crew is demanding measures, restrictions on Riley. Marcus sighed. Restrictions? He's not some rogue weapon. He's a dog. A dog that nearly crippled the ship, wrestled a scout, and defeated a venomous intruder Xyler countered. We need assurances. Fine, I'll train him to stay in one place. How's that? Xyler hesitated. Is that possible? Marcus grinned. You'd be surprised what a monster like Riley can learn. Training sessions began. Using a combination of gestures, commands, and treats, Marcus taught Riley to stay, sit, and even fetch on command. Crew members watched, fascinated. It wasn't long before Riley's antics became a point of curiosity rather than fear. They marveled at how quickly he learned. For Marcus, it was a chance to bond with his dog while demonstrating human ingenuity. Riley, however, had other ideas. One morning, as Marcus was rehearsing stay with Riley in an open corridor, a commotion broke out nearby. A malfunction in the energy core cooling system caused a surge of heat and pressure. Alarms blared. Xyler, who had been observing, ran to the console to help contain the problem. In the chaos, Riley broke from his stay position and bolted toward the danger. Riley, no, Marcus yelled, sprinting after him. The energy core chamber was blistering hot. Engineers worked frantically to stabilize the failing conduits. Riley slipped through the chaos, following the scent of heated metal and stress. He stopped at a ruptured pipe spewing energy and barked. One engineer, Singla, glanced back, incredulous. Why is the monster here? Before anyone could intervene, Riley latched onto the edge of the ruptured pipe, pulling it just enough to realign with its joint. The engineers seized the opportunity to seal the break. The core's temperature stabilized. Once again, Riley's instincts, reckless and loyal, had saved them. Marcus collapsed with relief, patting his dog. Is there anything he can't chew through? Singla asked, half in admiration, half disbelief. Apparently not, Marcus said, smiling. Good boy, Riley. Despite Riley's heroics, not everyone was convinced he belonged on the ship. A meeting was called. Marcus stood in the center, surrounded by skeptical officers and crew. Riley sat beside him, panting. Officer Jelix addressed the gathering. We acknowledge the creature's contributions. However, we must consider the risks. This dog cannot remain unrestricted. Riley has saved lives, Marcus argued. He's no threat unless provoked. And even then, he listens to me. Boral, still wary, stepped forward. But what happens when he acts on instinct? What if he causes irreparable harm? He hasn't, Marcus shot back. You think of him as a beast, but he's just a loyal friend. Trust me. Trust, Torak interjected. Trust must be earned. Marcus nodded. Then let him earn it. A compromise was reached. Riley would be assigned to assist in controlled missions, where his instincts and strength could be used to the crew's advantage. Marcus would be responsible for his actions. It was risky, but it was a chance to prove Riley's worth. The first mission was simple in theory: explore a derelict spacecraft adrift in the outer rim. Scans revealed no signs of life, but something was interfering with remote analysis. The crew feared traps or lurking dangers. Riley, however, saw an opportunity to stretch his legs. Marcus, Xyler, and a small team boarded the craft, with Riley at their side. The derelict was eerily silent, its walls coated in a thin layer of ice. Lights flickered as they made their way to the main control room. It's too quiet, Xyler whispered. I don't like it. Suddenly the shadows moved. Mechanical constructs, ancient and rusting, powered up. They were Guardian drones, programmed to defend their vessel. Their hollow eyes glowed red as they advanced. Blades and energy weapons whirred to life. Fall back, Xyler ordered. One drone lunged at Marcus. Riley intercepted, teeth sinking into metal. Sparks flew. The dog's relentless attacks left deep gashes in the drone's armor, buying precious seconds for Marcus to recover. More drones swarmed, but Riley moved with feral precision, darting, biting, evading. The crew fought alongside him, using their combined firepower to disable the machines. When the last drone fell, Marcus dropped to his knees, exhausted. Riley trotted over, unharmed but tired. He licked Marcus's face, oblivious to the mechanical carnage around him. That was impressive, Xyler admitted, wiping coolant from his chitin plates. Perhaps there's more to your monster than meets the eye." "Glad you finally noticed," Marcus said with a grin. They completed their mission, retrieving valuable data from the derelict. Back on the mothership, Riley's reputation shifted once more. He wasn't just a monster, he was a protector, a companion, and in many ways a hero. The crew still kept their distance, but the fear was gone, replaced by a tentative respect. Over time, Riley and Marcus became integral parts of the ship's operations. The dog's keen senses helped identify hidden dangers, from structural weaknesses to intruders. His loyalty and bravery were unmatched. And while he remained unpredictable, the crew adapted, learning to trust Marcus's guidance. One evening, during a rare moment of peace, Siler approached Marcus and Riley in the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. Siler hesitated, then spoke. "I've been wrong about many things," he admitted. "I once thought of Riley as a threat, but he's proven me wrong." Marcus patted Riley's head. "He's a good boy. Always has been." "Indeed," Siler said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Though, next time, perhaps warn us if he decides to chew through another reactor." Marcus laughed. "Deal." Riley wagged his tail, oblivious to the diplomacy he'd forged between human and alien. He was just happy to be with his best friend, no matter where the stars took them. The peace aboard the mothership was short-lived. As Riley's heroics spread through the fleet, a distress call from a nearby planet arrived. The message was fragmented, but the threat was clear: an unknown force was terrorizing an isolated outpost. The mothership's command determined that assistance was necessary and risky. Marcus volunteered immediately, Riley at his side. By now, the crew's reluctance was tempered with respect, and while not everyone was comfortable with sending the monster, they understood Riley's usefulness. Zyler, Borrell, and a small team joined Marcus. They were prepared for anything, or so they thought. The team touched down in a small clearing, dense forest stretching in every direction. The outpost lay in ruins, smoke rising from the remains of buildings. Siler's scanners detected no life signs. Whatever had attacked was powerful and precise. Borrell paced nervously. "What if it returns? We should leave before." A low, resonant hum filled the air. Branches trembled, leaves fell, and from the shadows emerged towering figures. They were biomechanical warforms, their forms partially organic, partially metallic. They moved with the smoothness of living beings, but had the cold precision of machines. "Hostiles," Xyler shouted. The warforms surrounded them, their glowing eyes scanning for weaknesses. Marcus reached for his weapon, but Riley stepped forward, hackles raised. The lead warform tilted its head, as if analyzing the dog. It released a piercing screech. Riley barked back, as if answering a challenge. Marcus gritted his teeth. "Not a good time to play hero, buddy." But Riley had already charged. He moved like a streak of lightning, weaving past the warform's attempts to grab him. He lunged at one's leg joint, biting down hard. Sparks flew, and the warform's movements faltered. The other warforms converged, but Marcus and the crew fired their weapons, buying Riley precious moments. The battle descended into chaos: energy blasts, snarls, and metallic screeches. Riley, for all his ferocity, was more than just a fighter. He was clever. He nipped at vulnerable spots, distracted enemies, and forced them into positions where Marcus's team could strike. For every move the warforms made, Riley had a counter, as if he'd been born for this. But even he couldn't do it alone. "Cover him," Marcus yelled, firing at a warform closing in on Riley. Siler and Borrell flanked, targeting weak spots. Together, they fought with a rhythm born of desperation. Finally, only one warform remained. It roared, its body crackling with unstable energy. Riley circled, searching for an opening. Marcus knew they couldn't withstand another surge. He whistled a sharp, commanding note. Riley understood. He lunged, jaws clamping down on the warform's energy core. Energy arced around him, and for a terrifying moment, Marcus feared the worst. Then, with a final burst of power, Riley ripped the core free. The warform collapsed, its glow fading. Silence descended. The battle was over. Marcus dropped to his knees, calling Riley. The dog limped over, singed but alive. Marcus wrapped his arms around him, relief washing over him. "You did it, boy," he whispered. "You saved us." The rest of the team gathered, exhaustion etched on their faces. Xylar, for once, didn't hide his admiration. "I underestimated him again. He is more than just a companion. He is a protector." Boral nodded, no trace of fear left. "He is remarkable." The crew repaired what they could of the outpost and returned to the mothership. Riley was given the treatment he needed, carefully monitored by medics still wary of his teeth, but his resilience astounded everyone. Within days, he was back on his feet, eager to explore. The incident forged a new understanding among the crew. Riley wasn't a monster, he was a reminder of the unpredictable, powerful bond between human and companion. His loyalty knew no bounds, and that made him both a force to be reckoned with and a source of hope. In the weeks that followed, Riley became a symbol of cooperation. Marcus continued to train him, teaching him to respond to alien commands. Xylar, Boral, and even Officer Jelix took turns working with him, their initial skepticism replaced with genuine admiration. Riley's antics still caused the occasional disruption, but now they were met with laughter, not fear. During one such training session, Xylar approached Marcus, a rare smile on his face. "You know, when I first saw Riley, I truly believed he was a monster." Marcus chuckled, tossing a ball for Riley to fetch. "He kind of is, but the best kind." Indeed, Xylar agreed, watching Riley barrel toward them with the ball. "Sometimes, the monsters we fear are just friends we haven't understood yet." Marcus nodded, watching as Riley skidded to a stop, tongue lolling happily. "That's the thing about dogs. They don't care who you are. They just care that you're there." The two stood in companionable silence, the stars beyond the observation deck, reminding them how vast and unpredictable the universe truly was. In the end, it was the loyalty of a human's dog that had brought them closer, breaking barriers they hadn't even known existed. Riley barked, breaking the moment. He dropped the ball at Xylar's feet and wagged his tail, ready to play again. "Your turn," Marcus said, grinning. Xylar hesitated, then bent down, picked up the ball, and threw it. Riley darted after it, a blur of energy and joy. The crew watched, united not by duty, but by something far simpler and far more powerful. In Riley's playful barks and Marcus's easy laughter, they found hope, friendship, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, loyalty and love could prevail.